This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vossoughi and Mykie Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello and welcome to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mykie Stiller, joined by my co-host Arash Vossoughi, and we're so happy to be here with you for today's episode, where we're going to talk about how to collapse time between where you are and your goals. Arash, I love that term, collapse time. Now, is it just a catchy saying, or can you really collapse the time between where you're at right now and maybe your biggest, most audacious goal?
No, it's an absolute fact. I see it every day. I see it every day with our clients, and they don't believe it at first. But you have to do certain things, and there's certain rules that you have to follow if you're going to collapse time.
So why would you say that most people take longer than necessary to reach their goals if collapsing time is a possibility?
I'll give you two real big blocks to it. Okay. Number one, I'll actually give you three. Number one, they like the idea, but they never commit to it, so they don't believe it. And if we don't believe it, we're not going to do a thing. It's like Henry Ford said, whatever you believe, if it's true or not, is going to happen. And the second thing is they're constantly in fear. They're constantly operating with fear. Mike, what if I told you fear is the biggest bullshit that human beings give into? Like, what if I told you that?
I believe it.
They give into the fear and they make it so real. And it's not real. It's invisible, where they could choose what they want. And why would anybody think about what they don't want? Like, think about that. Why would anybody? Because they're not thinking.
And the odds of what they're fearing happening are not even that large. Like, it's a pretty small percentage of the fear that's actually going to come to fruition.
I shared this story. Someone close to me, we were in Cabo, and he said, let's go and jump off this cliff. Okay, let's go jump off this cliff. It's not a big deal for me because I've went skydiving multiple times. Like, I've done crazy stuff, you know? But it was for him, and he wanted to overcome his fear of heights. So I said, okay, I'll do it with you. So we get up there, and I wanted him to go first because he really wanted to do it. Well, he wasn't jumping, so I said, okay, I'm going to jump. You know, after a few minutes, I just jumped. And I'm waiting. I'm just treading water in the ocean, and I'm like, he's not coming up. So I swim back to do it again. And I'm literally watching fear overtake a great friend of mine. I'm watching fear overtake. Like, I'm watching it. And there's a 10-year-old kid, he says, you're chicken. You're chicken. And I ended up jumping again. And do you know, fear took him over so much that he climbed off that mountain. Now, the good thing, he actually finally overcame that a couple years later. But it became so real. Now, I want you to think, everyone listening to this, how real are you making it? We make it so real, and it's so untrue. Yet you'll have a kid, they're fearless. You know, they'll go do whatever, right? Well, we once were a kid, but we've gotten programmed to play it safe. And we have to understand we all, every day, are believing in something invisible. We're either believing in faith or fear. We're either believing in what we want, even though we don't know how in the world you're going to do it. So that, and the second one is, I really want to create a quantum leap. I want to 10x my results. But then I hear, I want balance. Balance is bullshit too. It's not true. What anyone who tells me they want balance, now I'm going to hit some people in the stomach and they're not going to like this. The person who says I want balance is the person who's not all in. They don't want to go all in. They always want to protect themselves. Now, understand this. I'm not telling you to be lopsided in your life, but there's sometimes you're going to spend more energy on your business. There's going to be sometimes you spend more energy on your health. It's not going to be 25% in each area of your life. And so these are really what keeps people from collapsing time.
So let's keep going on this track because every time you give in to the fear, it has an effect on your identity, whether it's a big fear or a little fear. And same with all the choices that you're making. How much would you say that identity plays into your ability to collapse time? And are you able to outwork that identity that you're building through those small choices?
You can't collapse time without a new identity. So identity is the foundation of all of our results. Like if everybody just looks with me at what our results are right now. Look, your results right now are what you put in over the last 6 months. And if you don't like them, your identity towards money is filled in poverty. It's a poverty consciousness if you haven't really improved. So what we have to understand, every time we step up and step out of our comfort zone, we transform our identity. That's how you collapse time. That is exactly how you collapse time. You know, I teach people how to do this, and it happens so fast. It happens so fast. You know, we have a lady in our Quantum Leap coaching program who messaged me. She said, in the first 60 days, I 5x my income. In 60 days, this woman did this. So you can't tell me that you can't do this. You can't tell me it's not real. And then we have to look at our history. It may not be financial, it could be health. It may not be health, it could be a skill set. But you've collapsed time in some area. In some area, you've collapsed time. We want to make it a standard that I collapse time every quarter. Mm-hmm. And how you do this is you become more effective.
You know, there's something that you often say, you've definitely said it on the podcast, work from the goal achieved. What does that practically look like day to day?
Well, everything starts with a decision. So you have to make every decision like the person you want to be. If you're not making the decision from the person you want to be, you're making it from your past self. So you're going to keep creating what you've always created. That's the big thing. If I could dummy this down, is make every decision like you've already achieved that goal. Like what would the person who achieved that goal, what type of actions would they be taking? What type of courage would they have? How well do they study themselves? Are they lying to themselves or are they observing so they can leverage? The biggest thing that we have to understand, we can't change and collapse time unless we acknowledge what's going on. We have to acknowledge what's not working. What may have worked to get to here is not going to work to get to there. So we have to acknowledge it. Once we acknowledge it, it becomes in our awareness. And we've got to stop the negative thought thinking. A negative thought, it's going to happen. Okay, you're not a robot, but you don't have to accept it or let it define you. Most people are letting it define them. And mental discipline is crucial to creating the life you want and collapsing time. But that's the foundation, is discipline. What does that mean? It's the ability to maintain focus on what you want the most.
So we talked a little bit about fear. I want to talk about, I don't know, the other side of fear, or maybe like, you know, right there with fear, which is doubt. How do you handle doubt or feeling like your goal is too big when you're working to collapse time, or even when you're working on just the activities that it takes to get the goal, if you're doubting the goal itself?
Well, first off, doubt is worse than fear. Fear is the effect of doubt. So it starts with doubt of accepting why you can't do something, and it manifests itself into fear. I don't like that language, the goal is too big. So if anybody thinks their goal is too big, they don't understand who they are. The greatest awareness we can have is understanding that there's nothing missing inside of us. Now, if you don't commit to the goal, yeah, you chose the wrong goal. So we could choose a sexy big goal, but if we don't commit, there's no power. So the treasure is always in the commitment. So I don't want you to think of the goal big or small. It's what do you want the most? You know, a lot of people are setting goals based on what they think they should set, not what they really want. So I'm more interested in the development of each person, because everybody's if you're in business, your business is a direct reflection of you. As you grow, so does your business. But do you know how many people don't understand this? You know how many people tell me the market, the market, the market. Look, you're going to have great markets. You're going to have indifferent markets. You're going to have bad markets. But you know what? People are crushing it in all types. Isn't that interesting? Why can they crush it and we can't? Because we're giving in to giving all our power up with an excuse. So how can you collapse time when you're always protecting yourself and giving yourself an out?
So true. We had a program call yesterday with our Pinnacle Club clients, and we have one specific client who did collapse time. They set a 90-day goal with you and achieved it, surpassed it in 40 days. What is one process or strategy that they implemented so that they were able to do that?
Well, first of all, I love this man because I've seen him grow so much. He's been with me for 2.5 years, and I've seen so much growth. So Joe Kinkard, if you're listening to this, keep going. But I will tell you, what he's done is he's surrendered to me. Where he used to take in a lot of what I was saying, but not everything. And you got to understand this. I rubbed up against his programming. And he didn't understand how in the world he can get 5 significant clients in 90 days in his business. Well, he got 6 in 40 days. How did that happen? Because he did the deep work. He only accepted what he wanted. And I gave him a few things to focus on every day. And you know what he told me? Well, you were on the call, so you heard it. Is he says, the clients came to me. See, when you get out of your way, you collapse time. When you're in your way, it's going to take so much longer. And that's the challenge that people have. And I've said this, I think I've said it on our podcast many times, but the biggest challenge people have is being honest with themselves. They're not honest with what is really going on, what their negative patterns are. Yeah. I had somebody, I said, okay, you're stuck. I've been there, so I'm going to help you. I said, I want you to send me what your biggest false beliefs are right now and what your negative patterns are. So then I could create a process for you to change them. Well, he sent me something that was very blah. And I said, I'm not going to help you until you're willing to get honest with yourself. I said, do you see you can't even get vulnerable to actually observe yourself? So how can you create what you want? Then a couple hours later, he sent me everything. So we got to stop protecting ourselves. We got to get really honest. It's one of the greatest standards is the standard of honesty that is going to break you free, which is going to allow you to collapse time. Do you know there is nothing wrong with asking for help? We have this, I used to have it too. I used to have it like it's a weakness to ask for help. It is not, it's a strength. It is a strength to ask for help. A weakness is keep doing what you're doing and keep hiding from yourself. That's the weakness. And we've got to become great riskers. The person who is not risking is risking it all. We've got to jump out of our comfort zone. We've got to keep planting seeds. I've said this before, but people do not plant enough seeds. I want everyone to observe. Yesterday, how many seeds did you plant? I bet you some people are like, I don't even know what he's talking about. I don't even know what he's talking about. You've got to plant a ton of seeds every day. Some of them are not going to grow. Some of them are going to be like the greatest growth. But we've got to get in the habit of planting seeds of what we want. If you're selling, you've got to put an invitation to what you're selling over and over and over again. Who cares if they say no? If they're aligned with you, they're going to say yes if you have a good presentation. But if you're not planting enough seeds, how many lives are you changing? You can't change lives if you're not putting offers out. And you can't change anybody unless you change your mindset.
So true. I feel like we couldn't really talk about collapsing time if we didn't also talk about urgency. So what would you say is the role in urgency here?
Well, urgency is everything. You can't collapse time without urgency. Urgency is always doing it now, acting before you're ready. That's how you change your identity. We talk a lot about identity, which we should, because identity is the foundation of everything. The true wealth formula is be, do, have. But Identity doesn't get changed just by writing something down or reading it. Identity gets changed by behaving into the new identity. Identity is a verb. Faith is a verb. We've got to start understanding to collapse time, it's impossible without action. And I'm not talking about fearful action. I'm talking about actions where you're completely detached and divorced from the outcome. But if all we did was be more bold, work outside of our comfort zone and not be attached, everybody would collapse time.
Yeah. We hear every day people who are a victim to time, right? I don't have enough time. I am so busy, whatever it may be. How can someone leverage time, especially in the context that we're talking about today?
Well, you want to use time as a tool. So you want to set aggressive timelines. And so imagine what I did with Joe. We use Joe as an example. Okay, 90 days. He did it in 40. Why? Because he committed to the 90 days. And then he got it. His words were, I was astounded how fast it happened. But he committed to the timeline. Now, let's say Joe went to 90 days and he didn't hit it. Okay? I would just tell him to move the timeline out 30 days. We don't get attached to the timeline, but we use it so we can start thinking, how can I do more in less time? How can I do more in less time?
Mm-hmm.
I use this story about probably a year and a half ago now, maybe less. I was working with a client and he had this big goal. And he said, it's going to take me 8 to 10 years to accomplish it. I said, what if we do it in 3? He goes, I would love that, but what are you talking about? I've never done anything close to that. I said, just play with me. And all we did was work on the right frameworks of what his goal demanded. And he called me and he said, you sold me short. I just accomplished the goal and it was a little over 2 years. And I said, what did you learn? He said, once I commit, I can speed up the whole process. Mm-hmm. Now think about that. That's how you collapse time. We've got to start taking advantage of our days. Today is our magnificent day. This is our masterpiece. This is the only day we have. I want everybody to really change their habit of how they're working their day. I want you to have nothing left in the tank by the end of the day. That doesn't mean you're depleted. That means you were free. You went after what you wanted. Then you look in the mirror and say, listen, I played full out. Whether you got the result or not, you keep stacking playing full out, that's when you're going to win.
So what role, and we've done an entire episode on this, so I don't want to go too far into it, but with collapsing time, I'm assuming some of what you're going to have to do is eliminate the things that are taking up time but not creating the results and focus more of your time on results getting activities. So we talk about elimination and removing distractions.
Well, when you're collapsing time, it's not about doing more, it's about being different. That requires you to let go of the version of you from the past that no longer serves you. So some of your current behaviors were built way in the past. They were built to survive, not thrive. That would be an example of somebody chasing success. Okay. So we have to eliminate, always thinking we're going to have to put fires out, always being a people pleaser, always working in our comfort zone. Those don't serve you. Your next level has to be different. So we have to let go of some of the beliefs. I have to do everything myself. If I slow down, I'll lose momentum. I'm just going to work harder, harder, harder. Another one a lot of leaders have is if I grow too fast, then I'm going to lose my good people. So that's a real shitty belief, right? Yeah. So today, I want everyone to ask yourself, and this is the action step, because it's coming perfectly to me. What roles have you outgrown in your business? If you have a business, in your job, in your life, what roles have you outgrown? What behaviors are outdated? I want you to think about that. What behaviors are truly outdated? And then what beliefs no longer work with who I want to be? Mm-hmm. We have to get so good. I did a call with our team, with our company, a couple weeks ago. I was in Italy, and I did this call, and I said, I will tell you what I do every day. And I said, I encourage you, because I can't force anyone to do it, but I encourage you to do this. Every day when I wake up, I say, I command myself to be my future self just for today. Now, a lot of people don't understand the word command. Command is convicted, telling the universe, this is who I am. That's what the word means. Most people are weakishly asking for what they want. We've got to command what we want. Wishing and hoping have no power. We have to demand it. Like, this is who I am. And we've got to stop showing up as this outdated version just to get by. Just to get by. Go after what you want.
I love the way you worded that entire thing, and I think everyone should rewind it and listen to it just one more time because it was so powerful. You know, the idea of collapsing time is essentially the same as creating a quantum leap. And you have a very specific framework for creating a quantum leap. In fact, our flagship coaching program is the Quantum Leap Coaching. So before we wrap up today's episode, I just want you to talk about the brief framework of Quantum Leap Coaching and why it's so fantastic.
Well, because I leverage everything that I learned from all the mentors in my life. Like I always say, like, none of this is my information. It's my specialized knowledge that I put. And one of the things that how I created this program, it's very action-based. Mm-hmm. One of my biggest things that I didn't like when I was going through it is everything sounded great, but there was no direction. You know, so it's extreme direction, literally showing you week to week what to do and how to do it. Now, if any of you are sitting there right now, since you brought this up, Mike, send an email to hello@Voss Coaching Co. if you want my help and if you want to create a quantum leap. You know, I will get in touch with you and I will help you. We have literally thousands of success stories, you know, but if you want it, great. If you don't, great. You know, it's just an invitation if you want these next 6 months to be the best 6 months.
Let me clarify that email, hello@vosscoachingco.com. All right, Arash, this was a fantastic episode. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a rating and review. And most importantly, share this with your friends and family or on social media. We'll see you next week for another episode on the 7 Figure Standard podcast. Thanks, Arash.
Thanks, Mykie.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7 Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mykie and how Voss Coaching Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachingco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7 Figure Standard.